And we'll move on. The clerk could call item 8C. There.
Proposed transfer of Mountain View Mobile Home Park. And you have 3 requests to speak.
Welcome. Oh, sorry, your mic's not on. There you go. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I am Ava Lee, Senior Development Analyst for Housing and Economic Development and Project Manager for Mountain View Mobile Home Park. Before you for consideration are the proposed terms for transferring Mountain View Mobile Home Park to the Caritas Corporation, a California-based nonprofit corporation. The proposed terms will maintain long-term affordability and financial viability at Mountain View, facilitate home ownership while honoring existing rental agreements and exemptions, leverage city assistance with private capital from Caritas, and provide quality property management and resident engagement. Key proposed terms include maintaining existing affordability covenants and local preference priorities, a city loan not to exceed $500,000. The loan may convert to a grant tied to occupancy goals within the first 7 years of transfer, a Caritas investment of $800,000 for common area improvements within the first 5 years of transfer, and an option for the city to take title to the park for $1 at the expiration of the affordability covenant period. The proposed terms were presented and received support from the Housing Commission in November. And as part of the transfer, staff is also seeking approval from council to execute an easement agreement between Caritas and the city. Staff recommends honoring the existing conditions with an easement agreement for as long as Mountain View remains a mobile home park, subject to an affordability covenant, while reserving the encroachment area for possible future Gandara Park use. With council approval, staff will finalize disposition documents to transfer Mountain View to the Caritas Corporation. That concludes my presentation. Staff is available to address questions. Randy Redwitz, Chief Executive Officer, and John Woolley, Chief Investment Officer of Caritas, are both present to address questions as well.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Himmelrich has a question, at least one. Gambling on more than that.
Yes, you're right. I have a few, and I think that some things aren't always clear to people. So the first thing I want to talk about, because it was the last thing you talked about, was the easement.
Okay.
So the easement is in order to enable 8 mobile homes to have full lots. Is that correct?
Actually, I think it would be best illustrated in
Oh, good. You have a slide.
one of the exhibits.
Or not.
I'm not sure if you have
Well, I
them.
know what it is. I mean, I understand that certain homes encroach on property that really belongs to the city as Gandara Park, right? So in order to enable those homes, we need to have an easement over land that should be Gandara Park land, but will be Mountain View land. Is that correct?
Correct.
And there are 8 homes that are at issue. Is that right? I thought it was.
I believe it's 12
I believe there are
home sites.
12
I believe there are
homes. Good.
12
12
lots.
homes.
I believe there are 12
12
lots
lots
and
at
10
issue.
homes. Thank
Okay,
you.
12 lots and 10 homes.
Correct.
But so what it will do is enable us to have an additional 10 homes in Mountain View. Is that correct?
There are existing 10 homes currently crossing the encroachment.
I understand, but if we didn't have the easement, then those homes couldn't be there. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
They would
So-
have to be relocated.
So that was the first question. The second question, that, and I don't think this was clear, is you're contemplating that at least some of the homes in the mobile home park will be in the traditional model of mobile homes where the residents will actually own the home but rent the land. Is that correct?
Correct.
And my question is this, so you talk about 120% of AMI. Is that what we're contemplating charging for the land itself?
The land is rent controlled, and the average rent for the spaces is currently $378.
That's what I wanted to ask. I wanted to ask what, at 120% of AMI, what's the rent on a space?
Hold on. At 125, yeah, I got it.
120, right?
Oops.
I look, and maybe I'm misreading the term sheet, and I haven't read I have to admit, I haven't read the whole contract.
The spaces are rent controlled, so the spaces are about $378, but at 120%, and household can afford rent of $1,247 for a 0-bedroom and $1,925 for a 4-bedroom.
And so that's if they're rent. So here you want, okay. So I'm sorry.
Let me just clarify. So the spaces are subject to rent control, and they average about $378, as Ava mentioned, and those would only go up in conjunction with whatever the rent board grants annually.
If you had a situation where a person wanted to own their home and rent the land, because a lot of people are just leasing the home and the land, is that correct?
Correct.
That's a yes, right?
Yes,
from
that's
both
a
of
yes.
you. Okay. So if they're renting the home and the land, those two numbers you gave me would apply. The range of numbers.
That would be the range.
That would be the range. Now, if they want to own their home, they would pay the whatever the MAR was, and then they would somehow finance or purchase the home a different way. And maybe I need to ask I'm sorry, I forget your name. But I've met you before, yes? Yeah, yes. So what I'd like to know is, do you finance the homes? How do they obtain the homes if they want to own them themselves?
Why don't we ask the gentleman from Caritas to come up and
That's
answer that
who
question?
yes, right. That's him.
Good evening. I'm John Woolley, Chief Investment Officer for the Caritas
Nice to see you
Corporation.
again. Thank you.
Your question is, how are we going to finance the coaches?
What I'm asking is, do you provide the coaches if they want to buy them?
We will work with them in order to help them acquire the coach.
I understand. So they will be purchasing the existing coach.
In some cases, yes, but in many cases, it will require a new coach coming in.
Right, and in that case, do you facilitate it, or is a separate company who does?
No, we would facilitate that, and we would end whatever we could to help them out.
And what is the price of a new 2-bedroom home?
65-ish thousand, give or take, with installation.
Thank you.
You bet.
All right, seeing no further questions, we'll hear from the public, starting with Denise Barton, followed by Ann Thanawala, and then Ken Ward. And if you could all line up and be ready to speak, that would be appreciated.
Good evening. Please allow me to begin by saying that I support the transfer of Mountain View Mobile Home Park to Caritas Corporation. But although I understand the need to infuse the deal with $500,000, it does make me question where all the money has gone paid to the management company there. Because the street sweepers don't go through the park, a maintenance person would have to sweep the dust into the air, and what little dust was left at the end of the block was swept into the lots, one example. Another would be maintenance, people who do not know how to make repairs properly or at all. For example, the trailer Barbara Collins held me hostage in for 3.5 months, front door either didn't lock completely or if it did, it had to be upside down. Or what if you look at the empty concrete foundations that were cracking and crumbling? One would expect management to address or replace it, but no, not the management Barbara Collins hires. The management she hires hides behind closed doors in the locked office. But she, Teresa, just left recently. Get rid of the one who knows the real intent of the management, which was to make tenants' lives there as uncomfortable as possible and make proper repairs take multiple times to disincentivize requesting repairs, trying to get people to leave. Not to mention Barbara Collins continuing to throw money at it. Wasn't it over $500,000 this year to the management? Where is and has that money gone? Or we brought back to the fact that Barbara Collins is unqualified for her position, lacking working knowledge of federal regulations, and still doesn't understand the difference between project-based housing and the tenant-based Section 8 voucher program and its requisite leasing requirements of each. For these reasons, I had to say something about the $500,000 in the deal. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Nanawala?
Hello, I'm glad to be back here a year later and finding out that we're not with the old management company. Things have moved forward. I totally support this recommendation by staff, and I hope we move forward with it. Thank you.
Mr. Ward?
Ken Ward, resident Mountain View. Just want to say this is going to be the greatest New Year's present, Christmas present that the residents will have. And we appreciate it. We thank you for all your input and helping us out. This is going to make us really happy. There's only one thing I would like to add in the negotiations. I think maybe under attachment A, you have 3 homes that are vacant. It would be nice to keep one vacant so that the people that, like myself, who are going to get a new home with their help, and we'll have a place to stay while our old home is being pulled out and a new home is going to be put in. They did it for the those that are renters that rent the space and the homes, and they did it for one owner. So just maybe a little guarantee that so we know that we can buy a new home and have a place to stay while our new home is being installed. But this is the greatest present ever, and I appreciate it, and thank you very much. I want to thank staff. They did an excellent job. Thank you.
Council members, that concludes the public input and the matters before us. Council member Himmelrich is reaching for her microphone.
Well, I guess I have to ask, so has there been any discussion of giving a similar accommodation to those who are, the issue that was just raised about people whose homes are being replaced or they're being provided a new home, and whether there will be a place for them to stay?
And Caritas is nodding yes.
Works for me.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So I am going to move that, may I borrow your cheat sheet, please?
Yeah, we need 2 motions here. You.
Thank you. We should all get, I want to move that we authorize the city manager to execute disposition and loan agreements with the Caritas Corporation, a California-based 501c3 nonprofit corporation, to become the owner and operator of the city-owned Mountain View Mobile Home Park, consistent with the terms provided in Attachment A. Second.
All right, moved by Himmelrich, seconded by Davis. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember O'Connor is absent. Councilmember O'Day is absent. Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
Yes.
Councilmember Himmelrich?
Yes.
Councilmember Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilmember McCune?
Yes.
Mayor Winterer?
Yes.
And O'Day's on his way
And
back.
O'Day's back.
Councilmember O'Day, would you like to? Okay, he cast his vote yes as well. He is
And
present
Councilmember
in the
O'Day
chambers.
is a yes.
Yes, so that motion carries 6-0.
And now I'd like to make a motion to authorize the city manager to execute an easement agreement with the Caritas Corporation that allows Mountain View Mobile Home Park to encroach upon Gondara Park for as long as Mountain View Mobile Home Park remains subject to an affordability covenant.
Second.
All right, moved once again by Himmelrich and seconded by Davis. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember McCune?
Yes.
Councilmember Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilmember Himmelrich?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Day?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Connor's absent. Mayor Winter?
Yes, so that motion also carries 6-0. And that brings us to item 13B.